YouTube, what's been up? I know I've been away for a long time. I've been trying to stay consistent, but I've been running around. I've been actually offering my video services to a lot of other people. So I've been doing a ton of music videos, a ton of business videos. Not really much for myself, but now I'm finally doing stuff for myself. I've been working on skits. I have a ton of new gear. I'm sure some of you have seen my unboxings. Even some of the gear I have in the background here. Right over here, when I unboxed the Yamahas, like I have videos of that. But I haven't been keeping you guys updated since then. So I'm going to keep you updated with my DJ events. I have a lot of new gear I need to talk about. New microphones, new lenses, new cameras, which is one of the cameras that I'm shooting on now. As you can see, we're in 4K. I'm not shooting videos on my phone anymore. I have new pets. Oh, she's trying to run away. We got new pets up in here. Say what's up. Say hello. Look, talk to the camera. Talk to the camera. She doesn't want to talk. But anyway, I got new pets. She's a lot of fun to be around. We're going to talk about a lot, and I'm going to try to take you guys around with me a lot more frequently. I'm going to try. We're going to see how this goes. So anyway, as we begin to talk about more gear and do what I do, I hope you guys come back. Make sure you leave some comments below. I'm actually going to attach my TED Talk to this because I'm sure some of you haven't seen my TED Talk, but it didn't get uploaded properly, so I'm going to upload my TED Talk, which was about creativity has no blueprint, where I'll talk about my life throughout my phase of DJing and doing music production. So I had that little TED Talk that was going on, and stay tuned for more in the future. I'll see y'all soon. Oh yeah, check into my TED Talk. See you on the other side. Peace. You guys ready for the Firefly Festival? Make some noise. You ready for the Firefly Festival? All right, so I've watched tons of TED Talks, and I could have never imagined being on stage finally giving one, but I'm so excited to be out here giving you guys a TED Talk today. And today I'm going to be talking about creativity has no blueprint. So at 13 years old is when I first learned that creativity has no blueprint. A friend of mine that I used to go to church with, I would spend every summer with him. We would just sit back and listen to music every time I went to his house. And growing up in the household that I grew up in, my mother was very spiritual, so she didn't listen to any rap music. She listened to a little bit of R&B, but not a lot of rap. So my friend turned me on to rap music. The first tape we listened to, we had cassette tapes back then, was LL Cool J. The second tape we listened to was Leaders of the New School, and I absolutely fell in love with hip-hop music at that moment. So I took that tape back home. I would listen to it a whole lot. And at that point, the station she listened to R&B music on, I was like, what, I wonder if they play hip-hop sometimes. So I would just listen to the radio a ton. Like, I was glued to the radio. So Friday night, they had a show that came on, a local hip-hop show, and they had a DJ on that show, and they had an MC, and it was just like a completely different spin compared to all the other different radio shows that were on at that time. So the DJ would scratch the music, he would blend in different songs, like it was a completely different approach. And I was like, you know what? I want to learn how to do that, So I didn't know what he was doing it with though. So with my tape, I would try to emulate what he was doing with my tape. So I don't know if you guys ever used tape players before, but a long time ago when there was tape players, you could leave the play button in and you could hit rewind and you could hear it rewind. You could press fast forward, you could hear it do that at the same time. So I was trying to emulate what he was doing, but it wasn't working out. So I kept on searching and trying to figure out how he was emulating that sound, and I learned that he was doing that sound with vinyl. So I had a lot of friends who would come around and hang out with me while we were listening to music, and sometimes I'd let them borrow my tapes, but sometimes I wouldn't get those tapes back. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I ought to start purchasing vinyl and try to learn how this DJ is doing what he's doing. So none of them have vinyl, So I was like, if I buy albums, they're not going to be walking away with my albums, and I can learn how to DJ at the same time. So at that point, after I started purchasing vinyl, my grandmother had an old Technics, I believe it was the SL9000 belt drive turntable. She let me have that turntable. I scraped up some money and went and got a little mixer. And at that point is when I began to just mess around with learning how to DJ and scratch and doing all that stuff. So here I am, 13 years old, just messing around with my vinyl and my turntables and trying to learn how to make that same sound this guy was making. And my friends would sit around and just listen to me do this. So I would say maybe like 5 to 6 months after I had that turntable, there was a huge block party going on down the street. And my friend was at that block party. He came to my home and he was like, you know what? You need to come down to this block party because this guy's doing the same thing you're doing. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, he has turntables, he has all these speakers. So I went to the block party and my friend talked me into going on stage and DJing in front of this huge crowd. And at that point, that's when I got my first taste of the music business. The guy was like, you're great. You definitely have to come back and let's do some more work. And at that point, he hired me on to his sound company and DJ company. And I was DJing weddings, I was DJing in clubs, and I was doing like all kinds of things. But I lived in a very rough neighborhood and going around to all these different events where I was DJing, sometimes horrible things would happen. They would get shot up or somebody would get stabbed and all my equipment was inside. And the way that the local laws worked at that time, once the club got shut down, all your stuff got kept inside and you couldn't get it for a couple weeks. So it kind of lowered my spirits some. And I was like, you know what, I think we're going to leave DJing alone for a little bit. And this was around 17, 18. So at that point, I got back into the work world. I worked at some banks. I worked at some accounting firms, and then I worked at a bank again. And at that point, I was talking with a coworker, and he was like, you know what? You never be happy until you're doing what you exactly love. And I just brushed it off, because when I was working at the bank, it was very, very laid back. We had a lot of time. I was making tons of money. I was still living at home, so I had tons of money. I was like, you know what? This guy's talking crazy. Like, why would I want to do anything else other than sit here at the bank and just make tons of money, right? So the bank had gotten bought out by another bank, and they laid the hammer down on us. Like, we became so busy, we couldn't be, like, you couldn't go to the bathroom too late, you would get laid off. And that thought that he told me stuck in my head. I was like, you know what? I do really like music, and I think I do want to come back to it. But at that point, I was just somewhere else mentally, and I didn't want to DJ. I wanted to create music. I wanted to be the one who made the songs. So I would say maybe like a year after that, I had decided to start doing production. And I had only really been doing production for like 2 or 3 months, and I was working with my friends. I had a small setup. I was like, you know what, you guys just give me some money here and there. I'll let you guys come and work until I can build up my equipment. So one of my friends had introduced me to a local label downtown, an independent label, and they loved everything I did. Like, they loved my attitude, they loved my work, and I was just like, I don't really know if I'm ready yet. Like, I've never worked with anybody on this capacity, but they're like, you know what, we're going to give you freedom to do whatever you want. So I started working there, and they paid me enough to leave my job, and that's when my career as a music producer and engineer started. So that was a crazy story too. So this place, they were doing some sketchy things, and I started to catch on to that. And I was like, you know what? I got to get out of here. I can't. I'm not trying to be sitting in jail just recording music and producing people doing what I love. So I decided to leave there after about 3 to 4 months, and I started working from home. So at that point, all of my clients that were coming to that studio started coming to my studio. I was still working with my friends. So another friend of mine had turned me on to a girl named Angel DeMar. And Angel DeMar, she had a record deal before, and she knew like tons of people, but she wanted to have a girl group. So Angel DeMar loved me. She came to my studio. She was like, you know what? I got to bring my friends here. So she flew in a friend from California. She also flew in a friend from, well, she drove in a friend from New York whose name was Anika Minaj. So the first time I worked with Anika, I was like, yo, this girl is incredible. She was like, yo, you're incredible. She was like, you know what? I'm going to give you freedom to create whatever you want. So anything I did with her, she loved it. So I would say maybe like a year after I worked with her, she was like, listen, I have a very serious situation, and I think my manager's gonna try to hook me up with one of these real big labels. And I said, cool. She was like, yeah, but I don't want you to change. She said, all the creativity you do and whatever you do when you engineer, I want you to keep on doing that. So I said, cool, that's what I'll do. So me and her met up like a month later, and she was like, you know what, my manager wants me to change my name. I'm like, what do you mean? She was like, my manager wants me to make my name Nicki Minaj. I was like, are you serious? She was like, yeah. But she was like, he loves what you do, so don't change anything you do. I said, okay. So let's work on your sound and develop a sound that no one else has. Keep in mind that I had the presence of a DJ whenever I engineer music, so I would chop up her vocals, like drop them down slow and do all types of things. So we had took her work back to her manager. He loved it, and I would say like maybe 2 to 3 months later, she had her first mixtape out. Her second mixtape, she came back to me, and it was the same deal. They said, you know what, you can do whatever you want. Just be as creative as you can. So I'm just saying that to say, like, whenever you're creating, don't let anything hold you back. And there's no real blueprint to when you create. Like, just Don't try to plan things out and think like, I know if I do this or if I do that. Just let go and just create, because you never know what can happen, because creativity has no blueprint.